All right. Hi, Luke. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I got to ask right off the bat because I am a musician. What kind of guitars are those?
I only have acoustics. I've never gotten an electric. I always talk about it. Haven't done it. One of them's a Honer, one of them's a Washburn, and one of them's Jasmine.
And how about the piano? What kind of piano? Is it digital?
Yeah, it's a digital. I took 5 years of piano when I was a kid. It's a, space reasons. My place isn't too big, so I can't get a baby grand
Oh,
yet.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a Williams Sonata 2, I think.
Okay. Yes, I would love to have a baby grand, but my place isn't big enough either. So I know what you mean, but someday. Yeah, someday.
Someday.
So you've got a book out called Children of Violence. I see the cover behind you there. And the book is, oh, it's a novella, according to your bio, which is a
Yeah, it
shorter
was.
book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shorter book. It was probably novel size when I originally wrote everything, but through the editing process, I cut out a lot of fat that didn't need to be in it. And when it was done, it was just not that long.
How many words is it?
Seven, 70,000, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty
50 to 70.
close.
50
Yeah.
to 70. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
So the stories, is it one continuous story or is it a collection of stories? Kind of describe the way it's set up.
So it's set up. There are four characters of children, and they all live with different adults in their lives that are very, very violent, and they all connect somehow. And the timeline is kind of goes back and forth as well. I spent a lot of time on the timeline, a lot of time weaving the stories in and out, so characters show up in different parts of the book, and so it's not one complete narrative. I didn't want to do a good guy hero journey romance. I just wanted a bunch of interesting characters and see how they turn out.
Okay. Is this fiction? Are they fictional characters or are they based on people you know? I know your bio says some of this is based on your own personal childhood.
So yeah, it's a fiction book, but the stories are loosely based on events that have happened to my dad and to me as a child and my dad's life. So most of them are. I went through the book recently, and there's about 20 stories that are true that I used in one way or another.
You want to give us kind of an overview of what your childhood was like?
My childhood was strange. My parents were divorced, and I grew up in a small town outside of St. Louis, and it was very nice community. And then on the weekends, I'd go visit my dad, who lived in North St. Louis, and it was more of a very rough environment, and it was just a complete contrast. So on the weekends, I'd be in one of the worst places in the country, and then on during the week, I'd just be in this really nice, small, crime-free community, and it was just a very, very night and day situation. And then with my mom, she was a very extreme religious person. So I would go to church when I was with her 5 to 6 times a week. It was just always at church. And she took the, not Christianity, but the religion to an extreme.
So this was like a religious cult.
Maybe not a cult, but she took it to that level. A lot of the book is about what happens behind closed doors, and because these people have everybody has an outside persona, but whatever happens in the home, a lot of people don't know about. And that was part of my childhood growing up. Everything seemed normal on the outside, but inside the home, it was all about just religion and the second coming of Jesus at all times.
Was there deprivation in the home in the sense that like she wouldn't let you watch movies or listen to music or
Oh, there was no movies, no TV, no music. Um, I wasn't allowed to read anything that was not uh, Christian publications, which is why I believe I became an author eventually. I read so much when I was a kid. I wasn't allowed to go to the library. I'd have to sneak to the library to read books. I read a lot, and I read a lot now. And I wasn't allowed to read, and so that was my rebellion, was reading and watching movies with with friends if I could get away.
Well, your book is called Children of Violence. So, did you experience violence as a child? Were you abused, or did you witness violence in your life?
Not too much. No, not maybe more mental abuse, I guess, but physical violence, no. Um, but I do enjoy writing about it for some reason.
Okay, so some of the other characters in the book then experience violence as children, yeah?
Yeah, or they see it
Or
or
they
they
see it.
witness it. Yeah.
Okay. When did you write this book?
I wrote a bunch of short stories around 2016, 2017. And then last year, I took about 6 or 7 of them that were all in the same world, and I just connected them. So about 4 years, I guess, over the course of 4 or 5 years.
Was this one of those COVID inspired things? I've had a lot of authors on the show who had been meaning to write that book for the last 10 years. And when all the COVID lockdowns came on, they finally had time to do it.
That's a possibility, because I had been talking about it for probably 15 years. I wanted to write, but I was always afraid of what people would say, or I can't write about this topic or use this language. And eventually, when I started writing, I just disregarded all the fears of judgment, and I just wrote. And yeah, to answer your question, COVID probably did help. I couldn't go out, do anything, and I didn't do anything for months except write. So yes.
I want to hit on one of your talking points. Does your childhood dictate the rest of your life? I think some of us, a lot of us, grow up with things that just kind of carry with us. Traumatic experience, things that our parents might have said to us, things that parents might have done or not done. And I think some people have difficulty dealing. Some people just move on from it. What do you think? I mean, has your childhood dictated your life now?
I would say no. I moved away, so a lot of it has to do with me being 1,000 miles away from, like, distance wise, anything I grew up with. Uh, my dad passed away, and my mother lives in the Philippines, so I, I'm kind of away from all of it, distance wise. So that does a lot. As far as the things you believe mentally, that's something you'd have to come over, but that does have a large impact on your day to day, of course.
Okay, so your mother's in the Philippines. Do you have any siblings, any brothers or sisters?
No, I don't. My dad kind of had a sad story, and he never remarried or anything. And then my mom never had any more kids.
And you're not in contact with her anymore?
No, I'm not.
When was the last time you talked to her?
She called me in February to tell me that she was moving to the Philippines, and then that was it.
That was it. Okay. How is your relationship with her, though? I mean, is it to the point where you don't really care if you see her again, or you want to try to keep some sort of civil communication with her, or what? Where is
Well,
it?
I always wanted a mom. I don't think anyone doesn't want a mom. I always wanted and tried to have a relationship with her, but everything, and I mean every conversation, leads back to the church and revivals and going to heaven and being judged, and it just every conversation. There's no way to have a conversation that doesn't lead back to burning in hell for all eternity. And I can't. You can't talk to her about anything.
So she is just completely obsessed with that, and that's essentially her whole life, is that?
Yeah, there was, and you might laugh at this, but I thought it was kind of sad. There was an earthquake, and she called me. This was years ago. She called me and she told me there was an earthquake, and she ran into the street with her arms up because she thought it was the second coming of Jesus. Because the earth is going to shake, and
Right.
Jesus is going to come out of the sky on a winged horse and take the church to heaven. And so there was an actual earthquake, and she runs out in the street, because Jesus is coming back. And that's the mentality, unfortunately.
How did she get like that? Were her parents the same way? Your grandparents?
Yeah, they're all pastors and preachers on that side, and all of the communication is pretty much the same. You need to go to church, and Jesus is coming, and a lot of chain videos of the coming of the Antichrist, things like that.
Let's see. Let's do one more. We got time for probably one more of these. Let's see. Is there hope for the next generation? I get a kick out of that one because at my age, it seems like all the friends that I have who are around my age are starting to sound like my parents were when they were at that age and I was younger. All these kids today, they don't know what they're doing. And it seems to just go from generation to generation. And then we die, they carry on, and whatever happens, happens.
There's definitely hope for the next generation. Like you said, we always say, oh, these dumb kids, and then they get older and do the same thing. What we have to realize is that when I grew up in the era right before the smartphone came out, right? When I was done with college, that was when everyone had the smartphones with the cameras and the plans, the texting plans that didn't cost 15 cents a text message, right? So we have to understand that we did just as much stupid stuff, at least I did, but we didn't have the cameras to film it.
That's
we
true.
drove just as fast, drank just as hard, did all the stupid stuff, but now everyone is on camera. And that's a big difference in saying that there's no hope for the next generation. Look on the internet. Well, we didn't have that, back then.
Right, and we didn't have social media to blast it out to the world to see either. Right. What we did, we kept within our communities. Our neighbors knew about it, and that was about it.
I don't really have any answers in the book, for what to do. It's just more of I wanted to shock and entertain and try to tell a story in a different way. So I don't really have any answers in the book of what to do for the future, but I believe I did what I intended to do, and it seems to be getting a lot of positive reviews.
Okay, good. How long has the book been out?
It's been out since November, and yeah, I'm just slowly trying to get it out there. And people like you, thank you for having me on, giving me a chance to spread the word.
Oh, my pleasure. We do have to wind this down, though. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Yes, it's LukeGherardi.com, LukeGherardi.com, where you can check it out. It's on Amazon. That's probably the easiest way to get it. Amazon.com.
All right, Luke. Well, thanks for coming on. It was nice meeting you and nice talking to you. Best of luck with the